one to the Timberwolves. It wasn't close from the start. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you are here, you are absolutely one of the OGs. You are the sicko Jazz fans, so I appreciate you being here after that absolute throttling by the Minnesota Timberwolves. But there's some things to talk about tonight. Might not be quite as long. The Jazz played poorly, the end. No. But there's a few things to talk about. We saw the Minnesota Timberwolves at full strength, and they look good. Now, Utah has a terrible defense, and it was made even more terrible tonight because of starting Isaiah Collier in place of Taylor Hendricks. There shouldn't be a lot of surprise with how this ended with that decision, but maybe the Jazz just wanted to give Collier a chance, and it might be a sign that Utah kind of knows where this is all going. With Walker Kessler out, I wonder if the Jazz have just said, welp, that's the season. So we'll see. But as far as the Wolves go, they just played great across the board. Anthony Edwards didn't even have to play, a lot of the second half. He had 31 or 37. Let's see. Let's fix the screen here. He had 37 in 26 minutes. Crazy numbers. So, in fact, let's make this bigger so you guys can actually see it. Is that good enough? I think so. Anyways, he's incredible. Rudy Gobert, he doesn't look as kind of athletic as he has in the past, but he still looks very, very good, and that's good enough probably for them. Across the board, they're just solid. It'll be interesting to see. Mike Conley now a bench player, but plays well in that role, so we'll see. I don't know what the future is for this Wolves team. They may be an interesting trade deadline team to see if they do something to fill that kind of point guard hole with the starting unit. But Dante DiVincenzo, maybe he's fine. If you just have the ball go through Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, maybe that's just good enough. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It certainly was good enough against the Jazz tonight. Let's talk about the Utah Jazz. Like I said, the biggest surprise from this one was the change to the starting lineup. Isaiah Collier took the place of Taylor Hendricks. So you had Lauri Markkanen at the 4, Svi Mykhailiuk at the 3. The beloved Svi Mykhailiuk. But anyways, Isaiah Collier starts, and it was disastrous. It was truly terrible. And I had tweeted this when we first saw Walter Clayton play, I just said, this is the last we're seeing of Isaiah Collier. And, it was probably right, because what we've seen from Walter Clayton Jr. is just a point guard that, knows how to control the game, is under control, makes good decisions, moves the ball, shoots it well, and the thing with Isaiah Collier, we know he can pass the ball. We know he's fast. I don't know if there's really a lot else there, because he did go 4 for 8 from the field, but some of that was just garbage time. He had 4 turnovers in his 26 minutes, 3 assists, and he did knock down a 3 in garbage time, but it was pretty bad, guys. And we talked about this last post-game show. The Jazz, with Walker Kessler, were the number 18 defense. Without Walker Kessler, they were the number 15 defense. Now, there's noise there because those 3 games or whatever it was also coincided with Taylor Hendricks starting. So, the Jazz didn't really miss too bad with Walker Kessler out, at least on the defensive end. But it's just when you don't have Taylor Hendricks on the floor, when you don't have Walker Kessler, when you're relying on the defense of Isaiah Collier and Svi Mykhailiuk and Lauri Markkanen. By the way, Markkanen, we've got to have some talks a little bit. I know everyone thinks I hate Lauri Markkanen. I just speak the truth, all right? I see what I see. I call it how I see it. And I have a mantra of my own. Well, multiple mantras, but one of them is I'm going to just say what I think, what I see, my personal experience, and what I'm seeing. Okay? If you can't deal with it, I'm sorry. This is not the place for you. If you want just the honest opinion, that's what you're going to get. When the Jazz are playing great and players are playing awesome, that's what we're going to say. When we see things that are not going great and not going well, we're going to say it. Okay? That's just how this goes. And I find it extremely important to make sure we do that. And just a little story for you. You know, I kind of just blasted the Jazz on SLC Dunk. I was just so sick of what we're seeing so far this year, where I just don't think the Jazz have a very clear plan. Although tonight kind of looked like the beginning of someone or a decision being made for the season. Now, I hate that the Jazz have 3 wins if they're going to tank, but over the long haul of the season, it'll probably be fine. But I blasted them, and some people say, why don't you go do real journalism and go be in the Jazz locker room? Well, first off, if I can just go to the locker room, I probably would. But here's the thing. The Utah Jazz the SLC Dunk used to be in the Jazz front office. Okay? We used to be there. Used to be in the scrum interviewing players with everyone else. The Utah Jazz PR department, one of 2 in the NBA. Of all 30 teams, there are just 2 NBA teams that don't allow an SB Nation site into the locker room. And it's the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz are extremely sensitive about who they let in there and what they say. The reason that SLC Dunk is not in the locker room is because Greg Miller and John Reinhart and all those people, I guess I shouldn't say names, but you know what? I don't care. They did not want us in the locker room. It's a different person now, so it's okay. I know his name. I'm not going to say it. But anyways, they did not want SLC Dunk in the locker room and kicked SLC Dunk out because we told the truth about Tyrone Corbin as the coach, that he was not a good coach. He did a bad job. There was no winning going on, nor development of players. And SLC Dunk was the only place that told the truth about it. And so from that point on, we've been outside the locker room. And personally, it bugs me because I would think that the Jazz would want that honesty and truth in the locker room. They have their reasons for why, but I think it's a bunch of baloney. And so because of that, I feel it's incredibly important for me, both as site manager of SLC Dunk and on this channel, to tell the truth. So when someone comes on this channel or in the comment section of SLC Dunk and tells me what to say, I would like to just formally tell you to shove it, because it's not going to happen. It is very important to me personally that there is an honest, uncensored opinion of the Utah Jazz out there. And you get that here and you get that on SLC Dunk. And I'm not saying some of the other beat writers don't do that too. I respect what they do. I respect that they do. But at the same time, they have sources that they want to keep happy. So you're not going to always get the cleanest and clearest opinion. And I'm not saying I don't have some of my own. I know certain people, certain family members of certain players. And sometimes, just to be honest, I really like Key's family, and they're awesome. And I've been a big fan of Key because I do feel like I was a big, the last 2 years, you guys probably got sick of me talking about Keontae George. But I saw it from the beginning that this guy was going to be good. Even when things weren't going great, I kept with it. But because I have some connections with that, and just some friendships or whatever, and they're mostly just online, but still, if I saw Key not doing well, I just didn't really say anything. Right? It affects you when you know those things. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is when you're trying to keep connections strong, let's say you like to have access to different people in the front office, the owner of the Jazz and stuff like that, then you're probably going to sugarcoat things, or at least say things in a way that aren't going to get you kicked out of the locker room. SLC Dunk, it's just kind of raw and real and honest. And we just tell it like it is, and that's what I do here. I feel very, very, very strongly that it's important to tell the truth. Just, I could do videos every day that are just like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever about this thing. Or this is, watch this. The Jazz are actually great if only the refs weren't so bad. And, well, actually, the honest truth is the Jazz still have a lot of flaws. And they're very young, and they haven't really decided what their route is yet this season, although tonight gave some signs. Just want to make that clear, right? And one of the things I do make a point of is if I try to do a video every day, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes I like to hang out with my wife and my kids, right? That new Frankenstein movie on Netflix looks really cool. And one of these nights, I'm going to watch it. But anyways, there are nights where, like, it's not always the easiest to talk about the Jazz. But what keeps me going is, one, I'm crazy. I am like Jazz autistic or something, but I love talking about this Jazz team. But what keeps me going is that I want to talk about the things that are bugging me or making me crazy or driving me insane, because I'm an insane person who talks to himself as he walks through the house. I literally talk to myself half the time, and people will catch me saying something and I'll be like, that's weird of me. So anyways, this allows my craziness to come out here. But the reason I like to do this and talk is I just get to speak what I'm seeing with you guys. Okay. So anyways, hopefully that's clear. I find the Jazz PR team to be very frustrating. They have given me the runaround, and I have a lot of stories that are very frustrating about some things in the past. But anyways, so I make it a goal that we're just going to be honest. And by the way, and this is something I learned from Bill Simmons, and one thing I respect about Bill Simmons is that being in the locker room in some ways is an advantage, because if you're in the locker room and you're going to blast someone, you're probably not going to be super interested in talking to them the next day, because the players read this stuff and their families read it, and they read stuff at SLC Dunk. And guess what? We get messages from them sometimes, or they'll, I get emails here and there. Like, I got that interview with Keontae George in his rookie season. Sometimes I get messages and I'll want to do it, and it's cool. But if you're in the locker room, you're not going to want to be like, oh my gosh, Lauri Markkanen sucked last night, and here's why. And then the next day you're in front of him with the microphone like, he's going to probably know about it, and he's going to treat you differently. And it's not super fun. By the way, one of the most overrated things in the world. Why am I shaking this? One of the most overrated things in the absolute world is interviewing players. If you have ever dreamed of interviewing players, let me just tell you, it's not that great. I've done it a few times. It's fine, but they do not want to talk to you. They do not care. They want to go home. They're not going to say anything profound. You ask them for certain things, and they're not going to tell you like, oh, what happened in the locker room is Will Hardy said this, and I don't agree. I think we should do this. They're not going to say anything like that. They're just going to give you standard answers. They want to get the interview done, and they want to get home, which is understandable, especially on nights when they've lost the game. I cannot think of something less enjoyable than having to try to talk to players who are mad about a loss and try to get intricate answers from them. Could you imagine having to give those answers? It would not be super fun. And, if you're talking to a guy that just told you you're doing badly, which, by the way, I do respect Andy Larson a lot because he's pretty honest. I don't always agree with everything he says, but he's pretty honest, and I appreciate it, and he's willing to ask the tough questions. So, you say something about a player that they're not doing well, or you say, like, I don't know why the coach started Collier. That was ridiculous. And then you're going to ask Will Hardy a question after you did it. It's not all that's cracked up to be. But what happens is if you don't have to go in there, you can be more honest and say the truth. But sometimes people can't handle the truth. Can't handle the truth. That's okay. It's okay. It's not for everyone, right? I don't know. All right. So Svi Mikhailuk. Anyways, did we talk about this enough? Isaiah Collier starting was not good. Perspective. It was not good if you were trying to win the game. It was good if you saw Darren Peterson tonight play against North Carolina, who had Caleb Wilson playing, who, by the way, might go number 4 and looks freaking awesome. Caleb Wilson is one of those risers, guys. He is a demon. defensively, and he is huge and long and athletic and skilled. And so this draft is turning out really cool. If you are number 4 in this draft, you are happy because Caleb Wilson looks great. And then that's not also that doesn't even count like Nate Ament, who's 6'11", small forward, not super fast, but man, can he just rise over everyone. And then you've got Koa Pete at Arizona, who looks like a freaking juggernaut. He looks like kind of like a Cam Boozer light. He's pretty darn impressive. So anyways, if the Jazz might have found their little tanking, they probably knew they weren't. It just dawned on me. They probably knew they weren't going to win this game tonight because the Timberwolves are the best team they've played all year. They are full strength. Anthony Edwards showed that he is kind of potentially MVP caliber. And they probably just wanted to see Isaiah Collier start because he's back from injury. He did start a lot of games last year over Keontae George, which, it's interesting looking back at that because Keontae George looks like, honestly, he's been the best player on the Jazz the last 2 games, at least maybe 3 or 4. He's been awesome. But they probably just wanted to see what it looks like, knowing that this probably wasn't going to go particularly well, and it didn't look good. So now they know. I doubt he'll start again. Maybe if they want to lose, then they should start him. So maybe we should root for that. But I would much prefer watch Keontae George start alongside our younger players. Like I like seeing Taylor Hendricks start because I think he needs it. He needs the conditioning and he needs the reps. One of these games this season, we're going to see Ace Bailey start, and it's going to be really cool. So we'll see. I don't know how they get all those guys on the floor. I guess Bailey at the 2 would be pretty good. I actually think Keontae George has been so good at the point that I think the problems with, having a secondary playmaker are a little overblown. I think he's been so good, guys, and he handles that ball well. Yeah, he's had, some turnovers. He had 3 tonight, which is actually, in 25 minutes, that's a little high. But like we've said, 2 to 3 turnovers is tops in the league. If you're under 3 turnovers a game, that's like good for like top 5 in terms of holding onto the ball because, for point guards, for playmakers, if you handle the ball a lot, you're going to turn it over. But if you're under 3 turnovers a game, it's really good. And so for Key to be at just 3 with this tough defense, not bad. You'll take that. But I actually do think Ace Bailey could play that shooting guard position, and it would be fine. Now, he's going to make mistakes like he did tonight, and there's going to be some struggle, but the dividends of that would be great. You will just start to see more and more, and it would bring size to this lineup, So we'll get to Ace next. But anyways, Svi Mikhailiuk was 2 for 4 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. Quinn Snyder, or not Quinn Snyder. Will Hardy's favorite player, and 2 assists, 2 rebounds. A nice night for Svi Mikhailiuk. The apple of Will Hardy's eye. Lauri Markkanen struggled tonight, guys, and I preface this with just saying, I've already said it once, I do not hate Lauri Markkanen. I think he's a very good player. I just would like his 3-point shot to go in. And we talked about this all last season. I kind of harped on this. I told you what I was seeing. I know everyone's like, oh, he's playing with bad players. They're tanking. They're not trying to win. That's true. He's missing open threes. Like tonight, he goes 0 for 4 from 3, and some of them were wide open. And I looked at it because it's been worrisome. 33% from 3. He was 34 last year. So tonight drops into 33. Now, is he going to be there the whole? I hope not. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We need him to be making his threes. He needs to make those. That is his signature selling point as a player. He's a volume 3-point shooter. But when it's not falling, it's a little tough. Because he plays off the ball. It's not like Keontae George, where the 3-point shot this year has not been good. It was good tonight. 2 for 5. That's great. 40%. That's amazing. But Keontae George has the ball in his hands and does a lot more. Although that was the other downside of the Isaiah Collier start. I can't tell you how bad it was, guys. Is it took the ball out of Keontae George's hands, and he's been averaging like between 7 and 9 assists per game this year. He had just 2 tonight. Taking the ball out of Keontae George's hands is bad because even if his 3-point shot's not falling, he's still hitting his 2s. Tonight he was great. Tonight, Keontae George, easily the best player for the Jazz. And, you know, if he's averaging 7 to 9 assists, we know that Key goes to the line. He's been just getting the line like crazy this year, which is just a huge skill. These 2 for 2 were 2 and 1s. He played great tonight, guys. He really did. But the moral of this story is that because Markkanen's off the ball, if he's not hitting that 3, it really lessens his impact. He needs to be hitting his 3s. And when he's hitting his 3s, then it opens up everything else. You can drive to the basket. They need to run out and clear out, and you can drive to the basket. Things like that. He's just got to hit his 3s. He's got to hit his 3s. And it's his most important skill set. He does a lot else, but he needs to hit his 3s. And the other thing, I'm just going to be super serious, and he is not a very good defender. I think because of his size, it feels like he's just not able to withstand some of these minutes. Like, I do think he probably should rest 1 or 2 of these games coming up, maybe once every 4 or 5 games, because it feels like his body breaks down a little bit. It's just a thing I'm kind of watching because I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments. Yusuf Nurkic played tonight. He was mostly invisible. I mean, being guarded by Rudy Gobert will do that. So not much else to say there. You do notice that against this Wolves team, having Nurkic, who can shoot a 3, he's not particular. I don't know I don't think he's shooting it at a high percentage. Maybe I'm wrong. What's he shooting? Yeah, 11%. So he's not exactly dead-eye. But there are times where, like, Rudy Gobert was out there to cover him, and it does kind of open the floor. And it's nice to see. It does kind of open up that offense, and Utah does some nice things. But and you did see that tonight where Rudy Gobert went out to guard him, and it did create some opportunities for other players. There were few and far between, but it did happen. Before we move on, by the way, I almost forgot. I do want to check our nightly, let's see, advanced stats. Advanced. Let's get them. Are they here? Oh, no, we got to remove these. So let's just see for the season where the Jazz rank offensively and defensively. Offensively, the Jazz have dropped. Woo. No way. Not to 30. That can't be real. Here, let's, is that real? That's actually so shocking, I don't believe it. Let's go, yikes. Teams. All. Let's get to advanced. All right. Okay, number 1 offense in the NBA is the Houston Rockets with Kevin Durant. That worked out. They're playing great. Worst, okay. Wow. So the Jazz dropped to 26 in offensive rating. Wow. The Dallas Mavericks, 103. They can't score. Cooper Flagg's going to be a good player, but I had a feeling that he might be... Is he a little overrated? Just a little bit? Kind of might be just a nice connective player. Like, is there a world where Cooper Flagg's just kind of Sean Marion? I don't know. Let's see, defensive rating. So look at this. Oklahoma City is so good. 7 offense, number 1 defense. It's the reason why Oklahoma City is going to win the championship this year. They are so good defensively. It's why you fill your team with good defensive players. That's what I dream of. That can also shoot and pass the ball and handle a little bit. Defensively, Utah is 26th. Offensively, 26th. Man. Whew. They have dropped. How the mighty have fallen. I think it's a little bit of Utah had played some. It was a little bit of pyrite, guys, a little bit of fool's gold. They were playing some not very good teams. The Jazz have the most difficult schedule here on out for the rest of the season. We'll see how things go, but they're going to play to win, which is fine. I just think that this front office needs to probably think about making some moves. Number one trade I would request right now, if I'm the Jazz, is to trade Svi Mikhailuk. What is his contract, by the way? Svi Mikhailuk contract. Open this up. $3 million. He's very tradable. I would trade him tomorrow if I'm the Jazz. He has a club option, so... Oh, look, so they have him for 2 more years? Oh, my gosh. If the Jazz win the lottery and get Darren Peterson, and we're starting Svi Mikhailuk over Darren Peterson, I may have to just walk into a river. I don't know. I'm just... Oh, my gosh. But anyways, they need to trade Svi Mikhailuk so that he doesn't get played anymore. Because here's the thing, you can still play to win with your young guys. You don't have to manipulate lineups when you do that. That's why I've been pro-trade, is because you can play to win and coach to win without having to manipulate lineups and try to lose. You just play the players you have, and if they lose, that's fine. You're probably expecting losses when you're playing your rookies a lot and these young players. It's just how it works. But it's not how the Jazz have been doing it. Last year they manipulated lineups all year, which is fine, and it did work. They got Ace Bailey out of it, but I'd much prefer to just start building with Ace Bailey and Keontae George and Taylor Hendricks and so on, rather than Svi Mikhailuk and Yusuf Nurkic. Keontae George, we've kind of already talked about him, so we can probably move on, but he's just been awesome. His handle is great. It looks like tonight the form was good. I mean, if his shooting comes around, you're looking at a special player. And I knew it was there. And it's just nice to see it come around. I mean, one thing you've got to give credit to Keontae George is there was a lot of pressure. He lost his starting job last season. Off season, he works incredibly hard. He's shown awesome leadership, something this Jazz team needed. He's kind of becoming a leader of this team. And he's defending. So he's defending, he's passing the ball, he's making good decisions. This is like a perfect night. What else could you want? Besides Isaiah Collier not starting, and his assists will go back up when Collier's not on the floor. But what else could you want? He's just doing everything everyone asked of him, and there was massive pressure on him to perform. Massive. This year 3 is basically it. You know, you kind of have to be like, if you're not proving it now, then you're probably not getting a bigger contract next year, and you're probably not part of the future, and you might be in trade talks. Now, Keontae George is looking like an untradeable piece, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Jazz throw him $20 million a year next year. Who knows? Could be more. I don't know. If he gets better and better and keeps improving, who knows? But he is certainly looking like just a player that's going to get better every season. And if he gets this good after this last offseason, what happens this next couple seasons as he continues to improve? Utah might have found a real player in George, and it's nice to see, but a lot of credit has to be given to George, who this offseason obviously worked really hard. So nice to see. And, you know, with all good point guards, you can just feel the difference when he's on the floor and when he's not. When he's on the floor, you feel like things are under control and the right play is being made. It's the right pace. I mean, this Minnesota Timberwolves team defense tonight was awesome, and they still found ways to be under control. The Jazz need help. They need help from the draft, but they certainly looked better with Key on the floor. Isaiah Collier, I don't need to trash on him too much, but he's just not been very good. It was a pretty alarming summer league, guys. It was pretty bad. I mean, he was just forcing the issue every play, and it didn't look good. He wasn't hitting shots. At one point, it was like, this is just really bad. And when we saw Walter Clayton come on the floor this season, it was just very clear Clayton's just a better player. And, Collier's young and younger than Clayton. But, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Collier's even going to play next game. It was pretty rough today. Utah comes home, so we'll see. But I don't know. Ace Bailey. I am waiting for the day that he gets to start. I don't see that. I know that Will Hardy, and there's a good article by Andy Larson talking about it. It's good stuff. You should go look it up. It's on his Twitter. He had a quote about it, but that he wants these players to appreciate every minute, which I agree. I think that's great. Can you not teach them to appreciate the minutes from the starting lineup? Like if they underperform, if you're teaching them and they don't do it, then they get replaced on the floor. Like mistakes are one thing. I sometimes I feel like that's a little bit, I don't know. Rookies are going to make mistakes and they're going to miss assignments. They're going to miss shots. They're going to look a little clumsy at times because they're not used to doing NBA moves against NBA players. It takes time to learn those things. That's why these reps are really important. And by the way, these teams don't have time to practice. There are not a lot of days they get to get practice in. A lot of the practice is in shoot around before the game, and the game itself is where you learn. And so the more you can get Bailey on the floor, the better. But it's just really tough for him to succeed right now because he's playing on the bench with some of these guys that are trying to get theirs, and he doesn't get the ball a lot, And so I feel it's been a little bit unfair. And I will say too, like next year when if the Jazz win the lottery, I have a good feeling. I don't know why. But if the Jazz win the lottery and come away with like a Darren Peterson or a DeBonsa or a Cam Boozer, I think it's kind of starting to really solidify what that order is. It really feels like Darren Peterson's probably the number one pick. Then number 2 might be DeBonsa. He's looking awesome. And then 3, Cam Boozer. But let's say you get one of those 3 guys. Does someone like Ace Bailey get annoyed if one of those guys gets on the floor immediately? Kind of feels, a little double. I don't know. We'll see. I would like Ace Bailey to get into that starting lineup at the very least because he can get more shots and more opportunities with that unit than just playing on this bench unit that's just, Bryce Sensabaugh and Filipowski and, Clayton Jr. is playing pretty well, but that ball does not quite move the same and the spacing's not quite as good or the same. So it's tough. It's just really tough. And especially in garbage time, you're just not getting the ball. You're not running sets. And so I feel for our guy. Despite that, he still went 4 for 9 and 2 for 4 from 3. 6 rebounds, 4 of those offensive. I mean, his athleticism and size just jumps off the screen. He's got to improve his handle and he's got to just get more experience because he's going to figure out the NBA game. But man, does just the tools and talent jump off the screen. It's just really clear this is an NBA talent. He just has a lot of polish that he needs. He'll get it. I hope he gets starting unit chances soon. I mean, we'll probably start seeing that very soon here with certain players getting rest and things like that. Like, if there's a night where they just feel like it would be good to give Markkanen a break if his shooting percentage is just tanking, he probably needs a game to recover. Then you can let Ace Bailey start, right? We'll see. I don't know, but I actually feel like in the minutes he was given, he's moving the ball. He has 3 assists. The guy moves the ball. Everything we were told about him being this player that won't move the ball, can't pass, blah, 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 is not true. And everything we told about him, what I've learned about Ace Bailey is that he's extremely coachable. He's humble. He is willing to do what the Jazz are asking him. He's not throwing fits, by the way. There's a lot of players that would be really annoyed with what is happening to Ace Bailey if it was happening to them. And he hasn't shown any problems. The body language is great. He is high-fiving guys. He's cheering them on. There is no pouting whatsoever. So you got to give this guy a lot of credit. The rap sheet was incorrect. He is a great guy, great teammate, passes the ball. He's going to learn how to play better NBA defense because he's got great size, and I think that's just an experience thing too, what you can and can't do. I think he's a little hesitant right now because the first few games he played, he was getting called a foul on every single one, and so he's going to just have to learn what's going to get a foul, what's not. That just takes experience, and so I would just like him to start and just get that experience. It does not matter if the Jazz win a lot of games this year. It doesn't matter. What does matter is getting him up to speed really quickly, because I think actually Utah could be pretty good next year pretty quick. They'll have cap space. They'll have another star from the draft. They'll have Keontae George ready to go. You're hoping that Ace Bailey by the end of this year is really figuring things out so that next year he can make some sort of jump, right? That can't happen if he's not playing with the offense and learning what Will Hardy wants him to do, build chemistry with Keontae George and all these other guys, right? So at some point, he's got to start. It's got to happen. Kyle Filipowski, he played pretty well tonight. I do really like him just off the bench. I think he has real potential to be a nice sixth man off the bench because he can kind of do it all. He can score, he can pass, he rebounds. He's not a good defender, but he does have size, so he can rebound the ball. And he rebounded it pretty well tonight, 10 rebounds. I mean, he may not be a great, stay in front of your guy defender, but rebounding is a part of defense too, and he does rebound it, and he does bring size. And he's pretty mobile. So, I think he pretty much is kind of a 4. He's very Kelly Olynyk-esque. And I think off the bench, he can be a really nice hub and play next to Walter Clayton. And that's really interesting. I think we're finding out who is good and who is going to possibly be traded or not get contract extensions. Bryce Sensabaugh is in just a terrible slump, guys. 2 for 12, 1 for 9 from 3. He did have 3, is that Sensabaugh? Yeah, 3 assists for him. So that's good. Some of that may be garbage time. I don't know. I wasn't paying too much attention. When he's not hitting shots, he becomes a liability. If he's hitting shots, then it's great, because we know what he can do when he's playing and hitting shots well. When he's not, it's rough. And I don't know. I don't know why he's in this slump. It's a struggle. We'll see. The biggest kind of casualty for Isaiah Collier starting was Walter Clayton. Only 11 minutes tonight, but I would say his 11 minutes were much more. He was a +3 in a game the Jazz lost by 100 or whatever it was. 1 for 2 from the field, 3 assists or 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Nice, Can't ask for much more than that. You expand those numbers, and he puts up good numbers every time. And what I like is that he just controls the game in a really nice way. He just plays like a vet, and he's nice. The Jazz hit on that pick. I think he just needs more time. He's been, struggled a little bit lately. The turnovers have been a little bit high, but that's okay. That's what this season is for. Same reason we want Ace Bailey to get reps is why you want Walter Clayton. I think Walter Clayton will be up to speed much quicker than Bailey because Bailey has a few skill set things he's got to work on. The handle. If Bailey can improve that handle, he becomes really dynamic. Really dynamic. Because if he can go to the basket, then look out. Then it becomes pretty exciting. But he's not there yet. Taylor Hendricks was... Let's see, was he the +3? Oh, it was +3 Taylor Hendricks. Never mind, -12 for Walter Clayton. Scratch that. The +3 from Taylor Hendricks is the defense. He is just an impactful defender. And I'm just waiting for our guy to hit some threes. He'll get there. I hope. But so far, the 3-point shot hasn't been falling. You got to give him a little bit of grace. He's coming off just a horrific injury that I'm sure he's still feeling. But it'll get better. 2 for 6 from the field. What is it? 2 steals, an assist, and 2 rebounds. Not bad. He does just defend really well. So, he'll just get back to 100% soon. He's just got to get in shape, and that leg has to just keep improving. Not much else to say in this one, guys. Look at that. We go 39 minutes in a blowout loss. Oh, well. That's what we do. Let's bring up the music, and let's do Tankathon, and let's give a shout out to the All-Stars. Why can't I find? There we go. All right, let's bring that up. Let's lower this volume just a little bit. And let's go to Tankathon. So now, updated standings, Utah sits at 6. They're going to pass New Orleans, and I think they're eventually going to pass Dallas. They can't be this bad forever. But they're going to be in this top 4 range. It's going to be tough because Indiana does not look very good, and Brooklyn is like all-time bad, and Washington is not very good either. So, but I think they could actually pass up Washington. We'll see. We'll see. Depends on what they do. But my guess is by the end of the season, the Jazz will be sitting at 4. We'll see. All right, let's see. If the lottery was today, what would happen? Yeah! Jazz at least jumped to number 4. That gets them Caleb Wilson, who, by the way, or Nate Ament, or there's a lot of choices here. Obviously, you'd like to get in the top 3. This sucks for that reason. Where do they have Caleb Wilson? Oh, that's way too low. Look at that. Averaging 31.7 points. Is this per 100 possessions? Per 36 minutes. And he is a defensive demon, guys. There are worse outcomes than getting Caleb Wilson. He might be really good. Like he might knock on that top 3 door. We'll see. But 31.7 points, 4.3 assists, 1.4 blocks, 1.4 steals. Is he the VJ Edgecombe of this draft? Maybe. He certainly looks really good. And I love having a defensive monster on the floor. Utah would have an identity. All right, let's see. Let's give a shout out to the All-Stars, guys. If you'd like to support the channel, you can just hit join. Let's have a shout out to Steve Areno, Steve Stevens. Let's see. I'm slow. My brain is slow. Let him cook. Sturdy Pots. Ezekiel Raicibe, the man from down under. Tyson Price. The Price is Right. See ya. Lex Later. Jordan the Goat. Best Roll. Ryan Edward Perry. The Legend. Christian House Money to Haas. Robert Hall of Fame. I Believe in Steve. Jazz Exile. Austin R. Grant. Editor Extraordinaire. Flipping the Script. The OG. And Patrick Akubo. The Connoisseur. Let's see. I got to make sure I didn't miss any chat tonight. It was not up. Let's see. Did I miss any chats? No chats tonight. That's okay. All right, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to join, I'd appreciate it.